Rainbow Magic, Kylie the Carnival Fairy. Story 1, The Hat Thieves. It was the holidays, and Rachel Walker was visiting her best friend Kirsty Tate. Today it was a grand opening for the Sunday's carnival. "This is so exciting," said Kirsty. "Look at all the rides." "There's the carnival master," said Rachel, pointed to a jolly-looking man in a top hat. He marched up to the gates and threw them open. "Welcome," he boomed. "Let the carnival magic begin." He pointed at the big wheel on his hat. With his hat, slowly the wheel began to turn. The other rides started moving too. "It's magic," gasped the boy. Rachel and Kirsty smiled. They knew all about magic. The two girls were special friends of the fairies. But spiteful Jack Frost and his goblin servants liked to cause trouble in fairyland. So Kirsty and Rachel helped the fairies to sort things out. A loud drum beat echoed through the air. "Look at the parade!" Kirsty cried as the band marched by. A man in a gold peak cap was leading the parade. He was carrying a rainbow-colored baton. Acrobats were cartwheeling along beside the parade. One of them stopped and gave Rachel a pretty popper. The girls turned to watch some jugglers. They weren't very good. They kept dropping their balls. "I think they need a bit more practice," Rachel said. "They're not very tall," Kirsty noticed, "and they have long fingernails." She peered closer and saw they had long green noses too. "Rachel," Kirsty whispered, those jugglers are goblins." "Why are Jack Frost's goblins here?" Kirsty wondered. Before Rachel could reply, they saw a goblin dash up into the carnival master. The goblin grabbed his hat and ran off. People cheered because they thought it was a part of the show. Seconds later, more goblins appeared. They rushed towards the band leader, and soon they had his hats too. He shouted and waved his arms, but everyone just laughed. "We have to put a stop to this," Rachel said to Kirsty. The band's music suddenly became a horrible din. Then the ride stopped working at the same time. The carnival master waved the band until they stopped playing. "The band is having a small problem," he told everyone, "but I'm sure we will sort it out. Don't forget to come to our closing day practice parade in 2 days' time. We will crown the best dressed little boy or girl as the carnival king or queen." The carnival master turned to smile, and a few people cheered. Rachel and Kirsty suddenly heard hoofbeats. They turned around and to see two women in sparkling costumes riding ponies. The woman was carrying a beautiful carnival crown on top of a blue velvet cushion. The crowd cheered as the ponies trotted by. Then everyone went off to have fun exploring the carnival. I wonder where those goblins have gone, Rachel said. Kirsty began to shiver and rub her arms. It suddenly got cold, she said. Rachel stared at a clown in a baggy yellow costume. There's something familiar about him, she whispered to Kirsty. He's got icicles hanging from his chin. Kirsty noticed. It's Jack Frost! Just then, a magical icy wind swirled around Jack Frost and carried him into the air. He landed by the cushion which carried the carnival crown. He grinned nastily, snatched the crown, and zoomed away. Oh no! Cried Rachel. At that moment, her fingers began to tingle. She looked down and saw her party popper burst. A little fairy shot out of it in a shower of streamers. Hello, girls, said the fairy called. I'm Kyle, the carnival fairy. I came here to make sure the Sunny Days Carnival is a success, but Jack Frost is trying to spoil everybody's fun. The girls looked confused. Kyle explained the problem. The stolen hats are magic, she said. Without the band leader's hat, the music will be terrible. Without the carnival master's hat, the rides won't work. The carnival crown is the most important of all. Without it, the closing day parade will be a mess. We won't let that happen, said Kirsty. We'll help you find that hat. Suddenly, the girls spotted a goblin's foot disappearing behind the curtain. He was heading for the Log Falls ride. Rachel and Kirsty followed him as quickly as they could. Two other goblins were with him. One of them had a carnival master's hat. The goblins climbed up into the start of the ride. They got into the boat, which started to move. The magic hat is making the ride work, Kyle said. I've got an idea, said Rachel. If we just wait here, the goblins will float past us. Then we can grab the hat. The log boat shot down a slide towards the girls. In the back of the boat, a goblin sat holding the hat. Kirsty leaned over and snatched it. Perfect, laughed Kyle. The goblins shouted angrily. Then Kirsty and Rachel ignored them and ran off towards the carnival master's tent. The worried carnival master was talking to the band leader. I don't understand why the rides don't work, he said. I must go and help to fix them. While he was away, the girl sneaked inside and put the hat back on his desk. My hat! Cried the carnival master when he came back. How did it get here? He put his hat back on and went to show it to the band leader. All the rides started working again. Kirsty and Rachel smiled. Thank you both so much," said Kyle happily. "Now I must go back to Fairyland and tell everyone the good news." The girls waved to the fairy until she vanished into the shower of sparkles. "Now people can enjoy the rides," said Kirsty. "But what about the music?" "We won't let Jack Frost spoil the carnival," Rachel said. "We'll look for the band leader's hat. We'll look for the band leader's hat next." Story 2, Magical Music. It was the day after grand opening, and Rachel and Kirsty were back at the Sunny Days Carnival. "What's that terrible noise?" Rachel asked. She clapped her hands over her ears. "It's the band," Kirsty said. "Their music is going wrong because the band leader's hat is missing." People were frowning at the band and sticking their fingers to their ears. The band leader looked miserable. The carnival master ran into the stage looking upset. "I really don't know what's going on," he said. He waved the magicians off the stage. Kirsty and Rachel watched sadly as gloomy musicians went back to their tent. "We've got to find the band leader's hat," Rachel said. The girls wandered around the carnival for a while. They passed a candy floss stall and a face painting tent. "Oh, there's a hat of mirrors," said Rachel. "I love funny mirrors. Let's go in." Kirsty swung the door open and stepped inside. For a second, everything was dark, but the lights came on. The tall mirrors showed hundreds of reflections of Kirsty and Rachel. "This is weird," Rachel laughed. Suddenly, there was a burst of sparkly glitter. "Where did that come from?" Kirsty gasped. The mirrors around them showed hundreds of reflections of a colorful little fairy. "It's Kyle," said Rachel. "I'm so glad to see you," Kyle said. "I can sense that the band leader's hat is nearby. Come with us and help us look for it," said Kirsty. "Let's search in the fancy dress tent." At the tent, some Cub Scouts were having their face painted. One of them was wearing a witch costume, but there were no carnival people around. "The Scouts were painting each other's faces," said Kirsty. "Why aren't carnival people doing it?" Rachel turned to look too. She saw a Scout in the witch costume sit in a chair and pull out his hat. "You paint my face now!" shouted the Scout with the witch costume. "It's my turn!" Another Scout had tiger stripes painted on his face. But when the girls looked closely, they saw both boys had long noses and green skin. "They're goblins," Kirsty said. "And they've got the band leader's hat," said Rachel. She had pointed it lying on a table inside the tent. If Kyle changes us into fairies, we can fly in and get the hat, Kirsty said. Kyle waved her wand to make the girls fairy-sized. Then all three of them flew into the tent. Before they reached into the table, the goblin with the tiger stripes grabbed the band leader's hat. He jammed it onto his head and ran outside. "Hey, where are you going?" the goblin in the witch costume shouted. The striped